What's happening, people? It's your boy Jordan back with another video. Guys, I know it's been a few days. I've had some other stuff that I've had to crack on with, but I'm back. It's a Thursday, so you know, we go. But anyway, guys, today we are going to be reacting to Jordan Peterson embarrasses BBC journalist. Man, I just love Jordan Peterson, I can't lie. He's just such an intelligent man. You know, every debate and argument that I've seen him in, it's very hard to outwit this guy. So that's why I wanted to react to him again, because I have done previously on this channel before, but I like getting into these debate videos and reacting to them. And even seeing your guys' comments in the comment section, guys. Keep that up as well. Keep commenting your opinions, your thoughts on these kind of videos. If you haven't seen the Will Smith content with the whole speculation with his wife as well, and now apparently his wife's come out saying that, you know, oh yeah, well, you know, my husband overreacted. Wow, what a toxic woman, man. What a toxic woman. But anyway, guys, without further ado, let's get straight into this video.
When you talk, say, about domestic violence, and there's a sort of thesis behind it, and I'm putting it in a bit of a nutshell here, so feel free to rephrase it, that men are, in the end, if men are pushed too far by a too aggressive a feminism, there will be a backlash, and that there is, you know, there's a sort of undercurrent of violence, be it verbal.
Oh, that's a warning, that's a warning, not
it's
a commentary
it's a warning
on the
that
utility
kind
of
of
that.
suggests that there may be sort of fault in those who push progressivism too far. They will get a backlash. Some people, of course, see that as a bit of a permissive environment for bad behaviour.
Well, people tend to confuse describing the likelihood of something with supporting the fact that it exists, and I'm describing the likelihood of something, not supporting the fact that it exists. If you push too far on the left, you're going to get a backlash on the right. That's how things work. And this is just a derivation of that as far as I'm concerned.
How does that work in the context of domestic violence?
Oh, I don't think it's applicable in the context of domestic violence at all. I think those things are completely separate issues.
I mean, you were mentioning to me just as we were chatting.
And I was speaking only politically with regards to the backlash. That was a comment on
Don't drop your pen.
And I was speaking only politically with regards to the backlash. That was a comment on political backlash. It had nothing to do with domestic violence. That's a whole different issue.
But violence often pops up in your work as something you think drives things. That I think you've said in relations between men are regulated by a background threat of force, and in a sense that's why men have difficulty with women. Is it really
no
so?
That's why men have difficulty with women who are completely out of control. But
who should control women?
Well, other women themselves, men, society, just like everyone is controlled. I mean, you're controlled by society, I'm controlled by society, and thank God for that. I mean,
funny. I mean, you described yourself as a liberal earlier, and I think a liberal doesn't think that a society controls women or men.
Well, let's say regulates. I'm a psychologist as well.
But what is an out-of-control woman? What is this creature? How do we know when we met one?
Well, I'm sure that you've met women in your life that acted towards you in a bullying and detestable manner. It's very difficult for women to cope with that because they don't have any real recourse. And female bullying can be unbelievably vicious. And usually it takes the shape of reputation destruction, innuendo, and gossip. It's well documented. It's very...
Bro, that's the thing, yeah. Like, violence and abuse is always gonna be. There's always gonna be a higher demand or like a higher look upon men with this kind of stuff when it comes to violence and abuse, because we're the aggressors, or should I say the more developed physically. We're more developed physically. Men are physically more developed than women, so there's also almost that notion that men are 10 times worse when it comes to violence, and that's actually not 100% true. There's different kinds of abuse and violence, and that point there, talking about gossip Like even today, in today's day and age, this modern world with social media, like the amount of gossip and bullshit women talk about over social media about different people. Like men don't do that. Men don't. Okay, if we're around other girls, sometimes. But if we're just a group of men, we don't gossip about people. We don't talk about other people like that, you know. That's not our go-to, man. That is not our go-to. When it comes to a more physical situation, okay, you're going to see men step up to the table because it's almost like men are demanded by women to do that. For example, there could be another male. You may have a girlfriend, wife, etc. Okay, there might be another male putting his hands on your female. The female expects you to step up to the plate and put your hands on him. The same old bullshit with the whole Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. Oh yeah, I love the fact he stuck up for his wife. Oh, you know, it's about time we have a black man step up for their. What are you talking about? This is what I'm talking, guys. I hate this double standard bullshit. Like violence, I don't condone violence. I will never ever put my hands on another man unless he firstly conducts violence upon me, my family, girlfriend. Unless he conducts the violence first, that's the only other reason. But apart from that, if he's just talking, I'm not going to condone. I'm not going to go down to that level. Come on, man.
Very difficult to
women,
defend.
But
No, men do it too, but men no. But
sorry,
the patterns,
disproportionately women in your view or not? Sorry.
yes, disproportionately women. That's what the data indicate. I mean, if
But
men
where
are,
is the data on innuendo and gossip?
well, it's among antisocial
come
behavior among
on.
adolescents. It's
You don't need data on that, do you?
a well-documented field. So, because people look at aggressive and antisocial behavior in women and in men, and in
It's like, what do women do? Do they first go to violence, or do they give it a good talk? They give it a good talk and a gossip. Women like having arguments. They like having these big debates and arguments. Men, we're more about peace. We don't really like arguments and all that stuff. You know, if it's going to come down to it, it's going to come down to fisticuffs. But at the end of the day, most men, I mean, mature men especially, we don't like that stuff, man. We just want peace.
women, it tends to take the expression of innuendo, gossip, and reputation destruction, and in men, it tends to take the form of outright physical aggression. There's a whole literature on that. It's not a surprise to anyone. This has been known for 30 years. I mean, the rates of
I think
antisocial...
the idea of the female gossip probably predates 30 years.
Well, it does.
By a long time, but that doesn't. Doesn't make it gospel.
But
really,
people
does
have no, it doesn't. But people have looked at how women express. Look, women have to express aggression somehow, unless you're willing to say that they're not aggressive. They tend not to do it physically, not to the degree men do. So they use other channels. And what other channels are there other than physical aggression? If you're going to be aggressive, well, you go after people verbally. You go after them with innuendo and gossip and reputation destruction. And that's how it works.
And just to be clear, that you think that's predominantly a female modus
Come on, love. Come on, love.
operandi.
It isn't that I think that.
Well,
It's not the fact he thinks it. It's facts. It's what's out there today. It's what we see.
That the clinical literature indicates that. It isn't that I think it.
I'm not interviewing the clinical literature. I'm interviewing you. What do you think?
Well, I'm a psychologist and a scientist,
You
and I
can
tend to base my opinions on what I've read in the broad, relevant clinical literature. I'm not making this stuff up. I studied antisocial behavior for like 15 years. I'm actually quite an expert on it. And so we know that men are more likely to look at it this way. All right. Women are much more likely to try to commit suicide. And men are much more likely to kill themselves. And the reason for that is that men use lethal force and women don't. Now that's a big difference. Okay, so then you say, well, women manifest aggression towards themselves and to others, but they don't use lethal force. They don't use physical force the same way men do. So they have to do it some other way.
Why do
what
they
are the
have
other
to do
ways?
something some other way? That you
Because
can take
people are
your Hobbesian
aggressive.
war against. So you're basically a Hobbesian. Life is
No, I'm
war of
half
all
and
against
half,
all.
half and half. Half Hobbes, half Rousseau. That's why I'm not an ideologue. Because I don't think that people are good or evil. I think they're both. I don't think that culture is security or tyranny. I think it's both. And I don't think that nature is benevolence or catastrophe. I think it's both. And that's why I'm not an ideologue. And I mean,
And where do you stand on the Me Too
Preach, man.
campaign? Good thing?
I think that it risks damaging the presumption of innocence. I mean, there's plenty.
Is there more to it than that?
Oh, sure. Women face the arbitrary admixture of sexual advance and workplace performance all the time. It's a very complicated thing to sort out. We don't know how to sort it out exactly because, I mean, NBC, for example, the American TV station, has made it policy that you're not to hug your co-workers, which, may be true. Although I don't think it's the sort of thing that a corporation might be deciding for people. But we don't know exactly what the rules are for governing male and female behavior in the workplace because we've only been working together for about 35 years.
We don't know. After 35 years, wouldn't it be possible to figure something out?
Not when you're talking about a transformation in behavior that's that profound. I mean, we don't know how men and women can work properly together in the workforce. It's very complicated.
But
men don't know how to compete
millions
with
of men and women across the world go to work together day in, day out.
But you were the one who asked about Me Too.
You're the one who. Don't start with you're the one who.
Me Too is Me Too is an expression of the fact that men and women are having a hard time regulating their behavior in the workplace. It's the only reason I responded to that because the question was posed.
I think it's more broadly suggesting that some men are having a grave problem with it. What is the lesson of the Harvey Weinstein story for you?
Someone should have said something about Harvey.
To be fair, you know what? Yeah, that would be a good debate. Whether men or women work to get well together in the workplace. That would be a very, very good debate. Let me know, guys, if Jordan Peterson has another video upon this kind of stuff, because men and women in the workplace, if you want my opinion, I personally think men and women in the workplace can work alongside each other, but when we're talking about working together, it's completely different. If you guys have ever watched the show The Apprentice, yeah, and see how the women and men interact with each other on that, I mean, it tells you different. It shows you that they can't really work together well because they have different thoughts and ideas and different aspects and things, and they take different actions. Men are more disagreeable on that show. They're more kind of demanding and willing to step forward. Don't get me wrong, there have been women on that show that have shown male traits, meaning being less agreeable, more on demand, taking action, kind of stepping forward, putting themselves, taking the risk, so there have been women on that show. But I think this season I've seen many arguments between women and men. So yeah.
Harvey Weinstein much sooner.
But we could start somewhere else. We could start with Harvey Weinstein was wrong to do what he did before we get round to other people should have spoken out. It's that's the secondary order issue.
Fair enough.
That situation was wrong. Very wrong.
There are going to be psychopathic predators. They're going to exist. And what has to happen is that people have to stop them because they won't stop themselves. And so I thought that was sort of implicit in the statement. Obviously, he shouldn't have done what he did.
But you don't think that the culture in which he was operating, that there was particularly in his world,
Hollywood?
In his world and in many other worlds, that there was a culture of, this guy's a powerful guy. He's the great silverback gorilla here. Let him get on with it.
Oh, I think that culture was everywhere in Hollywood, which is why I think
Not
it's
just in
actually
Hollywood?
quite... Well, Hollywood particularly. I mean, the casting couch idea has been around for a very long period of time. And I think that the Hollywood types who are all upset about this should look to their own devices with regards to the role they've played in fostering the culture that managed that. So
hang on, it sounds like the
Hollywood
itself, or the women, or who?
No, the entire culture. We were talking about culture. Yes. So, I mean, it's certainly that the Hollywood...
What's the sensible thing for women to do about Me Too, to your mind, and what's the less sensible thing?
This sun is just so annoying. Sorry, guys.
That's a hard question. It isn't obvious to me exactly what men and women have to do in the workplace to make that kind of sexual predation much less likely, with also subjecting themselves to restrictions on the sexual aspect of their existence that would be unbearable. It's very difficult.
What would be unbearable about that?
How about everybody wears the same uniform to work? That's what the Maoists... Well, look, if you want to eliminate the differences between men and women sexually at the workplace. You have to constrain the sexual differences. I mean, men wear suits to work.
Well, we
right?
don't have to eliminate the sexual differences for people to work together with respect.
You have to eliminate them to some degree.
Why? I'm
Well,
genuinely
because
puzzled.
the question here is, to what degree should sexually related behavior
Yeah.
be impermissible at the workplace?
Right.
Well, it depends
Right.
on how you define it. Should you be able to dress attractively? And if you can dress attractively, what do you mean by attractively?
See, that's the thing. The thing again with the workplace, men and women, especially if you work in a higher demand job, even middle class, man, it doesn't matter. Yeah, like if you have women going to work in high heels, tights, skirts. I mean, I'm not saying that I have a fetish for that, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, these are all things men look at, you know, when it comes to dress sense. You know, it's like a good-looking, attractive man. I'm not saying that all of them wear suits, but you know, you're quite. I'm at to how can I put? All right, let me break it down like this. If I wanted to impress someone, women or male, I'd wear a suit, put on aftershave, wear a nice tight shirt, nice skinny trousers, and nice shoes, right? If I was even to impress a female boss, I would do the same thing. And it's the same with women, because most jobs, especially in this day and age, most of the time, people are looking for attractive people. They're looking for attractiveness. So when it comes to a woman, if a woman turned up in trousers and flat shoes and a skirt and a shirt, most men or most, you know, bosses would say, sorry, you can't wear that, you're not attractive enough. And it's the same as men. If I turned up to a job interview in a black t-shirt, Adidas tracksuit bottoms and trainers, they're not gonna take me on, because I don't look attractive enough. I don't look the part. And that's the thing that's why there are so many kind of intertwining men and female, you know, not working well together, because they may be attracted to one another. There may be how can I put it this way? So they're not concentrating on the job at hand because there are other things in the way. There are other things in the way of the job, if that makes sense. So it's another thing. Like, so when women say, oh, well, women should be able to wear what they want to wear, but the fact of the matter is, in today's society, especially in the business world, or you go into central London, especially in UK, they want you to be as attractive as possible. Especially when consumers and people are coming in, they want to, you know, they look at your attraction. That's why you have beautiful women when you go to, like, into the banks, the big banks into central London. Yeah, you have beautiful women at the desks wearing tights or high heels, skirt, because when people come into those banks, being attractive is appealing. You know, it draws you in. And that's the thing. It's like, well, should all females just wear a suit then? Because that then eliminates all the other external shit. I hope you guys understood. I tried to break it down as simplistic as possible so you guys could understand, but yeah.
Exactly. Like, precisely.
Yeah.
I got into trouble.
I mean, I hope I dressed nicely today. You look very well dressed to me, right? You're a man, I'm a woman. We're both nicely dressed. Now we're getting on with the interview. What's the problem or perspective?
Well, the problem is the boundaries of what constitutes nicely dressed. Because because part of what constitutes attractiveness, part of what constitutes nicely dressed, is sexual attractiveness. Because you can't separate out human attractiveness, sexual attractiveness, from human attractiveness. And so then the question is exactly where are the boundaries? And that's what the discussion is about. Where are the boundaries?
The dinner parties, which are described in a foreword to your book, where friends enjoy debates and disagreements. Do you think in the broader conversation we've lost that spirit, or in danger of losing that spirit?
Oh, I think we're always in danger of losing that spirit, right? Because lack of freedom is much more probable than freedom. We have to be very careful to maintain that because it's always under threat. and I do feel that it's under threat now. I think that people are very careful about what they say in ways that aren't good. I think the fact that many comedians won't perform on university campuses now is a very good indication of that. That's a canary in the coal mine scenario, that.
Wow. I mean, I don't think he embarrassed her. I think she was asking very good questions here. Not like the other woman I reacted to a long time ago where she just kept on saying, so you're saying this, so you're saying this. Like she was literally taking words that weren't even coming out of his mouth, which was crazy. That was such a crazy video. But this woman is a little bit more, I would say, experienced, a little bit more intelligent than the other one. But man, talking about men and women in the workplace, man, it's such a hard thing to debate over, because you want a woman to look nice in a skirt, high heels, shirt, or open. Listen, I don't know. I personally don't know. I've never worked in central London. I see people like go, when actually I have worked in central London, but I didn't work in like massive firms, and I used to work at a car company, so the women there, they didn't have to wear skirts and all this. They just wore, even the saleswomen, were wearing normal trousers. They could wear flat shoes. They could be pretty comfortable in that workplace. But I'm talking about like big banks and big firms and companies. You see a lot of women wearing high heels, very appealing to the eye, like attractive wise, like even sexually, because if you want to go on and talk about sex, tights, high heels, all that stuff is involved, it's all in there. So it's sometimes hard, because I'm from a man's point of view, I'm backing the women here, because sometimes I've heard women in the past, they say, I find it sometimes uncomfortable wearing high heels, wearing tight skirts, because I feel like men kind of use that it's almost like a power thing. It's like, you need to wear that for my benefit, because I'm sexually attracted to that. It's almost like, if you want to go into that argument, that's what it's there. That's why it's there. It's like, I understand that, coming from their point of view, I understand it. Like, I feel like, unless you're like a massive firm, a big company, and you're bringing in big clients every single day, then okay, expect to wear skirts, tights, high heels, because coming from a man's point of view, that is attractive. Sexually, it is attractive as well. It's appealing to the eye. And bringing in big clients, they like to see that, and that's the damn honest truth. Smaller companies, not so much more important company, you can wear what you want. If you want to go and work in a coffee shop, you don't have to wear high heels and skirts and all that. You wear probably the company shirt, right? But you can wear trousers, you can wear trainers, and men, it's just a suit and tie. But women, especially women that high value women or middle class women, you like a man in a suit. You don't like a man in tracksuit bottoms and trainers. So the argument it goes back and forth. That's why, like, you can just sit there for hours debating that issue. But honestly, apart from that, guys, listen, Jordan Peterson, he's just spot on about everything. I feel like you ask him any question, he's gonna know the answer, and he's gonna break it down in a way where you understand. Obviously, my dialect isn't as good as his. It's far from it. But obviously I've tried to break everything down in the most simplistic way. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. It did go over a little bit, but I just wanted to get my point of view across also. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. You have your boy Jordan, and I'll see you in the next video.